is to help B2B tech startups ramp up and scale up their sales process. So this video is part of an entire series this fall, in our fall education series, to help startup founders in their early teens to generate more sales, build more systems, and improve themselves when it comes to leadership and mindset. So you can head over to salesquality.com, check out a lot more details. I'll talk about that in just a minute because I will talk about how you get some help with this particular strategy, this authority work strategy, at the end of this recording, at the end of this video. Most importantly, let's dig in. Let's talk about why we're doing this fall education series. So number one, first and foremost, when we think about the authority voice strategy that you've got each and every day available to you, it's really part of an entire stack of this foundation model that I was about a moment ago. So when you think about your startup and building out a place where you get an impact, really three parts to what you have to do every day. Number one is obviously you need to grow sales. Number two, you have to build repeatable systems so that your company has more repeatability and scalability. And of course, a leader, whether you're a 2-person company, 20-person company, or 200-person company, you've got to put your best self forward for your team, for your customers, for the people that are around you, supporting you every single day. So what exactly does that mean? So on the sales side of things, obviously, we're talking about customers, revenue, and growth. On the systems side of things, it's all around process, repeatability, building out that sales playbook. For yourself, what we're talking about here is having the ability to focus on yourself, on your team, having the confidence that you deserve to have, that your team needs you to have to lead them, and of course having fulfillment, because that's why we're doing this in the first place. There needs to be a level of fulfillment, otherwise the work we're doing really doesn't matter. And so when we get down, the work we're doing here for that fall education series is number one, we want to help you accelerate your growth. Right? We want to help you obviously generate more revenue. The second thing we want to do is help you create and iterate your selling systems. And the third thing we want to do is elevate yourself. So accelerate just means, like I said, grow sales. Create and iterate means building that repeatability, building that sales playbook for your company. Elevate yourself. How are you thinking about yourself as a leader? How are you focusing your time as a leader in your company and being that 5-star leader that your customer, that your deserves to have, right? The reason this is so important is because if you think about this model, or think about this path that you're at from idea to impact, every single stage means that you're yourself as a leader. If you're really getting out of the garage, you're getting those first dollars, or what we call those 10 paying customers, is usually you and a small team, right? It's all about hustle. So you're leading by, when you get to the ramp up stage, right? This is where you need to have more repeatability. You need to start building out that sales process. Now, of course, it means you still have to drive dollars. If you want to grow from, where you start first release, say 100K or 100K of revenue, then you got to make that leap out to breaking through that $1 million or that big area that you are through. And then as you start to grow sales, you're going to also start building out your team, and that's where yourself as a leader, you're elevating yourself. And then of course that third phase, the scale phase, this is where we're making really big jumps from 1 million to 3 million, 3 million to 10 million in revenue, and so on. Like basically tripling every 12 to 18 to 24 months. And again, it's about more dollars, helping with sales, accelerate your sales, on top of the systems that you built at the last stage, the previous stage. And of course, you're going to continue to elevate yourself as a leader. You're going to be managing, then you're managing managers. Then you have an entire different way of thinking about how you are running your operation every single day. So for our clients, we build this out as part of our, what we call our startup systems roadmap. And today, what I'll talk to you about is specifically, whether you're in that first early stage, getting from 0 to 300K in revenue, whether you're getting from $1 million and that's your next big benchmark, or maybe you're at $1 million and you're jumping to 3, or from 3 to 10, right? You're tripling every 12 to 18 to 24 months. This authority voice strategy that I'm going to dive into is critical. Even if you're at the starting stage here, and as you're growing, this part of this roadmap that we teach to our clients is a critical part of that growth each and every stage. It's one of the 12 systems when you you go from each stage from startup to ramp up the scale that every company needs to build and implement in order to get that repeatable, scalable sales process so you can make the impact that you want to make. So let's talk about authority voice strategy. So why talk about authority voice strategy? Well, number one, I mean, let's face it, you know more about the problem that you solve for your customers than your customers probably. Like every single one of us, when you think about a company way back with the idea, you say, hey, I got an idea. I see a problem in the marketplace that nobody is solving correctly. Nobody is addressing this. The systems or the solutions that are out there are just old and outdated. They're processed. They're spreadsheets and SharePoint. Like every single started with this notion, like, hey, somebody ought to solve that problem. And so from the day that you begin your company, every single day that you're going forward on your journey from impact, you do is thinking about this problem, learning from your customers about what they're using right now, looking at the marketplace as a whole to figure out what the obstacles and obstructions are, what are the constraints, whether those are rules or regulations in your industry. It could be around integrations that need to happen with other systems that are affecting the people that you want to sell to. Like everything you're doing every single day focuses on this problem. You have authority voice. You have the ability to leverage that authority voice as a means to use this in your sales process. And so we start talking about voice. What that means is we start educating, teaching your prospects about their problem and the way to think about solving their problem. What that does is gives you the opportunity to lead them. It's like you're leading a crusade. I had a business used to call it a crusade for the cause. Leading a crusade for the cause. And your cause, the thing that you're solving for, is you want your idea to be implemented. You want to show your market the right way to solve the problem that they haven't thought about before, whether that's through technology like artificial intelligence or machine learning, whether that's through using software, whether you use manual process or tracking on that solution your way is a better way. That's why you're building you're leading. So one of the things that's critical as part of a selling process, that's why it's part of the startup selling systems roadmap that we roll out for clients, and one that you need to implement every single day, is because it's your opportunity to teach and educate your market so that they follow you. And when they follow you, guess what happens? When they follow you, you don't have to chase. Wouldn't that be a way to sell? Your prospect or market is following you instead of you having to chase them every single day. And that's the whole reason why authority voice strategy is a key part of every startup scalable process. So what I want to do is just give you a couple of quick ideas that you can put right now. And so what we're going to do is just jam on a couple of ideas. When I talk about an authority voice strategy, what exactly does that mean? What are some specific ideas? So some ideas. And you might think about these one at a time and say, well, yeah, maybe I could do that quickly, or maybe they're now thinking, but it's good medium months. And at the end, what I want to show you is like one specific thing I know you could do in the next 4 weeks, and that what that's going to do is help you generate more leads. It's going to help warm up the prospects that you already have in your sales funnel, and it's going to help build content that you can use and reuse over the course of the next 90 days to the next 6 months, so that one piece of content that you're going to generate with this authority voice strategy is going to be leveraged up and down your sales pipeline and up and down your marketing funnel. Okay, the authority voice strategy. Let's just start about a couple of quick ideas. The easiest way most people think about authority voice might be something as simple as not even like a webinar. There could be lots of different types of webinars. So, for example, one example of what you could teach in a webinar is to teach your prospects about things like the top 3 mistakes. Because you know more about the problem and you know what prospects are doing every single day to try to solve the problem, you probably know the 3 or 5 big mistakes that they're making. People want to know what mistakes they're making so they can avoid making them. So again, just a simple webinar that says, hey, here are 3 mistakes that we see lots of people in this market make every single day when it comes to insert problem. Here are a couple of 3 ideas that you could put to work to avoid making those mistakes or to stop making those mistakes. So that's one form of webinar, right? A second form of webinar could be something like guest. So we have one of our clients that typically, as part of the monthly webinar series, they will invite a guest expert from the marketplace. And these sometimes can be their own customers. It could be somebody that's executive at their customers. It could be somebody who's a researcher, somebody in the area. Maybe it's an expert when it comes to compliance, regulatory environment in your industry, and do a role, something as simple as a fireside chat. And you've seen these happen before on conferences or other people's webinars. These are actually really easy to run. When you run this fireside chat, the easiest way to do it is set up a quick 5 minutes about the time. It's about 45 minutes that you'll schedule the webinar or this chat. I would spend, maybe about half the time, so about 20 minutes, and you talk to your guest expert. Say, hey, here are 3 or 4 main questions that we know our prospects have, that the market has every single day. So I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. I'd like you to answer them in conversation. And then the second half, the 20 minutes, is all around like open Q&A. So that every single person that's attending that webinar feels like they got something specific out of it for them. So that's another form of a third one. This is something we just recommended to one of our clients that they have actually done Authority Voice events, even though they're north of $5 million in recurring revenue, closing in on $10 million in recurring revenue. And they looked at us and say, look, we actually feel like there's a huge opportunity for us to start using Authority Voice as a lead channel over time. We know we're leaving this, this is like the low hanging, but this is something easy for us to add to our lead strategy. Like they're doing really well with outbound, they're doing well with inbound, they're doing well with a lot of other ways of generating leads, but they've actually never done an Authority Voice strategy. And they said, well, geez, like we're so pressed for time. We start. You start. Just run a simple Q&A. You run a live Q&A session for your market. Say, hey, we'll run a Q&A to talk about things like, the mistakes that companies in our market are making, or to talk about what experts in the marketplace are doing to help solve XYZ problem. And so again, it can just be, hey, join us for this live Q&A. You can submit your question ahead of time. We'll answer it for you live. And then that itself, you don't really need much preparation because you're probably answering most of the questions that are when it comes to your sales calls. Right? So these are just like 3 different forms, probably like 3 or 4 others that I've seen work well. So just as simple as like 3 mistakes ideas, or have a guest expert for a fireside, or run a live Q&A. These are different forms of webinars that you can run that will play Authority Voice in your market, because it's not about on your product, it's not about showing the demo. It's about teaching your market, educating them about how to think about the problem, so that once you help them think about the problem, they're going to naturally come to you when it comes time for them to solve that problem. So that's one set of Authority Voice strategies you can implement. Another is on a podcast. A lot of people will say, like, geez, a podcast. Like, there's many millions of zillions of podcasts out there right now. But again, there's different ways to think about this. So one is, if you're running a podcast yourself, it could be, again, any form of these questions. What if every episode was like, hey, this is a 10, 15-minute podcast episode covering the most important, the top 10 questions we get every single day about X problem. Each one of those questions is a podcast episode. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour Tim Ferriss kind of interview podcast, lots of production, and who cares if it's millions of listeners. What matters is if you get 10 people, 100 people, eventually 1,000 people listening to the podcast, that in itself is showing your Authority Voice. You're getting people in their ear every single day. We've been running a podcast for 6 years now, and it continues to be one of the best ways to generate ideas to help educate the market. We're bringing in guest experts. That's something else that we do as part of a podcast. You can bring in a guest expert. Okay? That's another way of podcast episode. So it's really easy to set this up, and then that just becomes part of your Authority Voice strategy. You can do one podcast every 2 weeks and release that. It doesn't, again, it's not a lot of work. We actually have an entire system that we share with our clients. Hey, this is the beginning to end podcast production cycle over 1 week. Mostly it's virtual assistants that are doing 90% of the work. All you're doing is showing up, doing podcast recording, and then handing it over to produce. When it's done, you can start using that as part of your outbound. You can start using it as part of your LinkedIn strategy. You can start using it as a way to get your own clients to start sharing it with their and their. So podcast is another example of authority voice strategy. The second way to think of a podcast is not running your own, but what if you were a guest on other people's podcasts? Be a guest on other people's podcasts. So getting in front of their audience, of course, it can be relevant to your industry, but getting in front of their audience would allow you to then many people at one time in the audience, and then just have some sort of action, bring them back to your website, or bring them back to, offer a specific download. Maybe it's a white paper, or maybe you're going to run your own webinar. Get people to join that webinar and use that guest spot in podcast shows in your industry to then get them just that market that you might be missing, right? So webinars, podcasts, and then the third way to think about this could be maybe something written, right? So there's different ways that you can think about this. So one could be you could write a book. Again, going back to top mistakes or top strategies or the top 10 lists, what are the keys that people in your marketplace need to implement to build and solve for that problem? It could be ebook, it could be a white paper. I know a lot of people out there are doing white papers, right? So use a white paper as a way to leverage your authority voice. Another thing could be a simple, like a 3-page guide to help your marketplace solve a specific problem that they're experiencing. So again, these are different ways. One of the things you'll notice as far as part of the authority voice strategy, there's 3 mediums that we're using here, and I did this intentionally. So the webinar is, think of that as video. People like to watch, whether they watch it live or watch recorded videos on YouTube. Other people like to, right? They're like, hey, in the car, while taking my kid to school or over to Trader Joe's and doing the food shopping. Personally, I listen to podcasts. I'll pop a podcast in, I'll listen to 1.5 seat. And just in the past 3 days, I've listened to 2 different podcast episodes, just doing that 10, 15 minute sprints in the car. And I'm going to listen to podcasts and consume information. Other people like to read, right? So that's where having a book or a white paper or some kind of magnet, some people like to read stuff. So it's watch, listen, and read. Those are the 3 ways that a lot of people consume. And so think about this authority voice strategy that you do to get started is, look, you can't do all of it. Like pick one in the next 4 weeks that you're going to run. Number 1, commit to a date. I recommend setting a date about 3 to 4 weeks out, commit to it, put time in the calendar, tell your team we're going to try these words, try this authority voice strategy so you can learn what that first one's going to be like. Does that be perfect? Perfect is the end of one. Number 2, invite your prospects. So whether those are people you have on a marketing list, go back through your email and find the prospects that you talked to since January 2021 and say, hey, haven't chatted in a while. I wanted to let you know, running this live Q&A. We're going to be releasing a podcast episode, or we're going to be publishing this white paper. Can I send you a copy? You're just using that, you're using value, education in our strategy. And then the thing is, remember the 3 R's. So run it, record it, and reuse it. So when you run the webinar and you record it, then you can take the transcripts, and those become blog posts. Maybe the recording of the webinar also becomes a podcast. Maybe the webinar turns into a white paper that you can use. So this idea of reuse the content, run it once, record it, and that becomes an entire tree of information you can use in 90 days. We do this all the time. I'll do webinars, turn those into podcasts, turn into posts on LinkedIn, send back out to the podcast in case they missed it, or send people to our website so they can download a copy of a book or download a copy of some sort of guide published, right? So this is what I mean by an authority voice. I wanted to give you some really tactical tips to put this to work right away for you. The last thing I wanted to mention is I said I would give you some more help if you want some more help with this. So the easy way to do that, 2 things that we're doing as part of this fall. So number 1, salesquality.com/sales_webinar. Every 2 weeks, we are running a webinar that you hop on and join. I'll be there running the webinar and working on the chat. These are some of the replays of ones that we've done, regardless of whether it's live or I will be there, specifically there to answer your questions you're watching and going through that webinar so you can learn things like, what does it mean to go from idea to impact? What are the obstacles that you're going to have to overcome? Another one we're running are the 5 shifts and the 5 selling systems that every starter needs to run, that they need to make and they need to build, right? The second thing, if you go to salesquality.com and go right to the homepage, then you'll just become an insider. So if you want to be updated about any of these videos that we're running on LinkedIn, if you want to be updated about webinars, we have a masterclass that we're going to be publishing very soon. If you want to be on our email list to get tactical tips, let you know when the podcast episodes are released, just join that insider list. That's an email list. Once you join it, we have all of these options to learn from me and the rest of our team throughout the rest of the fall. And almost all of this stuff is 100% free because we want you to grow and scale your startup. Our mission here at Sales Qualia is to help 100 startups hit $10 million in annual recurring revenue in the next. We want you to be one of those startups. We've done it for several. We've got a path for many more that we're working with right now. Over the next 10 years, we want to get 100 startups hit $10 million in recurring revenue. Because for us, when you talk impact, if you do the math on that, 100 startups hitting $10 million ARR, that's $1 billion in annual recurring revenue. That's a pretty impact, and that's the kind of impact that we want to make here at Sales Qualia. We'd love to be able to help. So that's when I talk about like leveraging authority voice strategy. Go out there, make sure you're using your expertise, leveraging your authority voice, get your prospects to listen to you so that you can lead them and they'll follow you. So you're not chasing them. Instead, using education as a way to separate yourself so that when it comes time to have a sales call, you'll be ready to listen instead of tuning you out. Okay. So if you got any questions about this, then what I want you to do is over to salesquality.com. You can add yourself to the email list, or if you want to jump on to one of the webinars, just go to salesquality.com. You can click right there at the homepage, click where it says webinars and workshops. That'll give you the full schedule of what we're running this fall. So again, every 2 weeks we're running a live event, a webinar, a workshop of some kind. Join the email list so you can be updated as to when we're running these live events. Every Monday, I'm teaching these tactical tips. Every Wednesday, I'm running a LinkedIn Live to talk about systems. So on Wednesday, we're going to talk about authority voice as a system. And then on Fridays, we're talking about yourself. We're talking about leadership and mindset and focus and fulfillment so that you can go farther with yourself and with your business. So I'm excited to bring this to you. I'm glad I'm in the position to help you this fall. Definitely want you to take full advantage of everything that we're doing for you so that you can ramp up and scale up your startup. All right, that's it for now. If you have any questions, then hit us up. You're welcome to type in a comment. If you can think of one person that would benefit from hearing this authority, please like or comment this on LinkedIn. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then send a link to this episode or somebody say, hey, just listen to this podcast. I think really enjoy it. We want to get this out to as many people as possible, and your help would be key to do that. All right, that's it for now. This is Scott